afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, the only sanctioned source of communist instruction. Today we're going to be looking at Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine, another recently popular command after the Fallschirmjägers got bapped. A lot of the rest of the doctrine sort of kind of clicked around. Funny how that worked. So, final abilities, as usual. The Doctrine, by the way, is not free for those curious. You have to pay for it either to get lucky or got to get enough supplies for it. So that's sort of it. It isn't. It actually might be free now that I think about it. Yeah, I think it's one of the starting doctrines now that I think about it. Silly me. Anyways, beyond that though, Doctrine, you got sort of heavy fortification and starting ability. It sort of allows you to play more defensively in theory, like you got tank traps, flak emplacements, and trenches. Trenches probably being like the most useful thing you can do, like maybe throw some full gunners down in the right place, or maybe some fighting makers. The flak emplacement is also theoretically useful, but it's got to be like a good spot. Your opponents, for example, if they clear up flak emplacement, can turn it against you. So I think that's usually one of the key elements that holds back the flak emplacement. That and just easily dies, but it can actually do some good damage in theory in a good place, like say a far off point you really want to protect against harassment. Or flak emplacement can be a good investment. But beyond that, I don't think there's a ton of utility there, truth be told. Stuka Smoke Reconnaissance, of course, is a multi-use ability. A, you got reconnaissance, but B, you also got smoke. Sometimes you can combine the two, but a lot of the time you'll use it to just try and figure out what your opponent's up to. That can be a really good idea, for example, detecting if they're building up for an attack somewhere you're not ready for it. Or, want to figure out, like, how they're set up with a defense. You can sort of, push through them quite properly, and then of course doing the attack, and then throw down the smoke to suppress certain key elements like a particular nasty machine gun, anti-tank gun, or maybe just split up the forces so you can, for example, deal with one part and just make things much more difficult for them to defend with. So a very high utility ability there that can be certainly one of the more testing of skill for any player. Moving on, we of course got the Fallschirmjägers, the elite call-in infantry. We've kind of got a video on those, but basically the sort of core of the doctrine. They push out a lot of damage, can be upgraded once you got the Schwer Punted Quarters for even more damage. They got grenades, Panzerfaust, smoke. They're basically just high utility elite assault infantry units. They can sort of really carry it, and not using them while going for this doctrine. Why did you even go for the doctrine in the first place? So they're really sort of what the doctrine's built around. Usually want at least like 2 squads of them. Battalion Assault, less I think thought about in the doctrine, but I would say this is a core ability alongside the Fallschirmjäger, since this makes all of your troops really, really good as to basically get all an accuracy bonus. And as always, units that benefit the most from accuracy bonus are units with higher rates of fire. So Fallschirmjägers with upgrades, of course, Sturm Pioneers, Orbits down the light machine guns, upgraded full grenades also a bit as well there. I mean, obviously all your infantry benefit from it, but generally the higher rate of fire your infantry has, the better. And overall, the key, of course, is to use it sort of doing crucial attacks, or maybe if your opponent's pulling off a big attack against you, you can just suddenly add more firepower to your defenses. But either way, using this ability, I think, is actually a crucial element of the doctrine. Sort of pulling a really good flank while then setting up for a Valiant Assault is really powerful, and can certainly also just allow you to support your tanks better. I mean, a Panzer full support by a pair of Fallschirmjägers, while Valiant Assaulting, for example, can quickly clear out a lot of things and really push through a lot of defenses and clear out sort of crucial support weapons. So, of course, combining this way with Stuka Smoke Reconnaissance, which further increase your push at one point, can, I think, really swing around a battle in your favour. So, Valiant Assault, really overlooked abilities, but I think also a really powerful one. And I think, honestly, should be considered roughly on the same level of the Fallschirmjägers and the Doctrine. Like, why going for the Doctrine if you're not going to use Valiant Assault as well? Like, those two, I think, are the critical elements. Then we get Airborne Assault, which I think is actually the one that gets, I think, put too much focus on, again, compared to the Valiant Assault. But it can be useful. It's sort of an ability where we can just quickly, hone in on an area further. Like, it just creates this strong point with aircraft, strafing infantry, and vehicles. Plus, your Fallschirmjägers outside there can also just reinforce in the field. So it does have some power, but a lot of people feel like just tend to, put all the munitions into Airborne Assault while ignoring Valiant Assault. Hang on, the cat for some reason is trying to run away with some plastic, the dumb cat. But, yeah, sorry about that. Basil is a bit of a precocious kitty at times. But, also they just call it in wherever. The thing is, it requires line of sight, so if you don't see what's going on, it's not going to be effective. Usually what you want to do is call in a bit behind the opponent's line, so they have to retreat through it, and that way, pin them down a bit. If you want to at least take out tanks with it, but it's usually something you just pull into just add some extra firepower to a big scale assault. It's not something you be calling in willy-nilly, and certainly I would not prioritize it over Valiant Assault in terms of just saving up munitions. I really feel like a lot of the time Valiant Assault will probably do a lot more good than Airborne Assault. Again, it's not saying Airborne Assault is not good. I just think people overrate it a bit and just call it in willy-nilly. I've seen so many times where just Airborne Assault gets completely wasted. They just called in and sure, the enemy ran a bit and that's it, but at the same time, really, you just spent 200 munitions to get your opponent to run. So while it's definitely not a bad ability, I do feel like it's one you need to be more judicious in its usage about, otherwise it just gets wasted, really. So it's one of those tricky abilities, and again, like, bandits sort of feel like a lot of the time can do just as good a job, or not better job in some cases. So that's all. I mean, again, over an aggressive doctrine that wants you to do, like, you know, push against your opponent, wants like set up for big assaults using fire makers and valiant assaults, and occasionally also airborne assault, Sugar Smoke Reconnaissance, just to further assist you during those parts. Through planning, but also just being able to support you doing those attacks. Well, you got heavy fortifications, does, you know, help you a bit with the defensive. But over an offensive doctrine that sort of plays towards a playstyle of like big surgical strikes, we just hit. Well, I would say less surgical, more like butcher's strikes. We just hit with a big cleaver and just cut through everything and just wound your opponent as gravely as possible, applying as maximum force as possible in one strike. So, overall, solid doctrine for sure. If you like infantry and sort of know how to play infantry aggressively. So, you know, pretty good stuff, and again, I think it's free, actually, so, you know, ignore that bit from the start, anyways. So, hopefully this will be a bit of use to you, and get more use out of the doctrine, more of your Oberkommanders plays. If you're hasn't subscribe, like, share, comment, press the bell button as well. If you like what you're doing, wish to support me, you can also donate or pledge on Patreon. The links are in the description. This is Imperial Links and Cheers. Thank you for watching. You all a wonderful audience. Bye.